Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. I wanted to take a look back at the different snow games in NFL history, the recent ones, mainly spanning from like 2011 to 2016, because that's kind of the nostalgia era for me. But this first one, this was the oldest one, the Bills at the Browns. This was 2007. I was very young, but I do remember as a Browns fan, watching this game and the terrible snow that we got off of Lake Erie. When it comes to snow games, there's always like a level to it. Is it snowing throughout the entire game? Is there snow accumulation on the field? This was one of the really bad ones, and we had a safety. You had the final score being 8-0, 1 o'clock game about a week and a half before Christmas. You can see there. Let's take a look at the stats. Trent Edwards, 13 of 33, 124 yards. Derek Anderson, 9 of 24. I'm surprised they threw it as much. How about Marshawn Lynch? Marshawn, that was probably one of his highest carry games for the Bills because he went to the Seahawks pretty early in his career. Jamal Lewis, 33 carries for 163 yards, but the Browns won that game. The next one, this is one that everyone will remember. The Lions-Eagles 2013, late in the season. Both teams were 7-5. You got to feel bad for the Lions coming into this game as a dome team. 2 to 4 inches of snow during the game. This game was played pretty much the entire first half. There was about I'd say 3 or 4 inches accumulated onto the field. It was brutal. And you would think, the under in this game sitting at 51, I don't know how it was that high, but the under would be an auto lock. Nowadays, if there was a massive snowstorm, we would bet the under down to like 35 points or something if there was this much snow accumulation that was coming. But yeah, the game started. Detroit scored a touchdown early on and had to go for 2 rather than kicking the extra point because I think at that time in 2013, the extra point was still like, a 17-yard field goal. And then they moved it back to 33. But the reason they went for 2 was because they just couldn't get footing because there was so much snow accumulation on the field. The kicker couldn't get footing. And you can see going into the fourth quarter, you think very low scoring game, 14-6, and then LaShawn McCoy explodes in the fourth quarter and just has a crazy game, 34-20, 28 total fourth quarter points for the Eagles. This was a 1 o'clock game, early December in 2013. Matt Stafford, honestly, for the snow accumulation, those aren't that bad numbers. 10 of 25, 151. Nick Foles, not bad either. You have Bell there, 23 carries, 69 yards. Is that Joik Bell? I remember Joik. Joik Bell had a nice fantasy day. You take a look at 4 receptions, 58 yards. Let me tell you, back in 2013, we weren't playing PPR. No. We were playing 0 PPR. And then we went to half point, and then I went to full point. But you can see LaShawn McCoy, 29 carries, 217, 2 touchdowns. Pretty crazy game there. This was just a miserable game. I'm sure nobody remembers this. So this was the 0-14 Browns taking on the Bears, who were sitting at 4-10, Christmas Eve, and it kind of snowed early on. But if you guys know, Soldier Field is one of the worst playing surfaces in the NFL. It is natural grass, but it's just terrible. And it really wasn't even snowing in the second half. You can kind of see how the field looks. It just looks ugly. It just looks like a mess. Could you imagine if we would have gotten like a massive snowstorm for this game? Just meaningless, but it would have been fun. Instead, the snow stopped in the Chicago area, and we got this just swamp mess of a field. You can see right there, Christmas Eve. I'll tell you what, there are a lot of times where the NFL schedule falls on Christmas Eve. Because I know they don't do like the full Sunday games on Christmas. They move them to Saturday if Sunday falls on a Christmas. But it just seems like year after year, there's always games on Christmas Eve. Like the full schedule is on Christmas Eve. But yeah, 20-3 the final score. DeShone Kizer, probably one of the worst seasons in NFL history. You got to feel bad for him. There's no way he should have been starting as a rookie or really at all in general in the NFL. 2 interceptions. Mitch Trubisky. Yeah, Mitch Trubisky going second overall. Actually, he changed his name to Mitchell, or he wants to be addressed as Mitchell. Isaiah Crowell, feed the crow. 44 total yards. Jordan Howard, just a horrible stat line for Jordan Howard. 22 for 44. I mean, if you own him in fantasy, you'll take the 2 touchdowns, but still. How about Duke Johnson? 7 receptions, 81 yards out of the backfield there. This is another game I'm sure a lot of people remember. Indianapolis traveling to Buffalo, very similar to the Philadelphia game where there was just 2 or 3 inches of snow accumulation throughout the entire game, and this was a very low-scoring game. It ended up going to overtime, and the Bills won on a walk-off LaShawn McCoy rushing touchdown. That was a 1 o'clock game early December. 13-7 the final score there. Jacoby Brissett, 11 of 22 for 69 total yards. Nathan Peterman, how about that? 0 interceptions. Nathan Peterman, the only game in his career he didn't throw an interception. It was in a blizzard. I'm kidding. I don't know if that's true. It probably is true, though. Frank Gore, they gave him 36 carries for 130. Yo, you got to feel bad for Frank Gore. The dude's like 90. He's getting 36 carries in a blizzard. LaShawn McCoy, 32 carries. I mean, LaShawn McCoy loves the snow. 156 yards and a touchdown. Kelvin Benjamin, remember him? I mean, he had a good rookie year, and I just think he ate too much, honestly. It's like an Eddie Lacy situation. Like, Kelvin Benjamin came into the NFL right on the brink to where it's like, all right, bud, you can't gain any more weight. You look good. You had a good rookie season, but you're tipping the scales there. You're right on the edge. It's the same thing with Eddie Lacy. He comes into the NFL, has an amazing rookie year, pretty good second year, but you're on the brink. And listen, pal, if you gain more weight, it's going to be very hard to play. You know, you're a receiver, you're a running back. You got to at least be quick if you want to be a featured player in the offense. This game from 2013, oh, this was a great one. Another crazy fourth quarter. Minnesota traveling to Baltimore. What a random matchup this was. I think Adrian Peterson got injured early in this game. But yeah, there was accumulation throughout. It is pretty rare to see this much snowfall, you know, in December in Maryland, because this is Baltimore, Maryland. But yeah, you can see 29-26. It was 7-6 going into the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter, 22-20. The Ravens come back. They had a kickoff return for a touchdown. Cordero Patterson had a crazy big game. Matt Castle. I mean, that's a pretty good game, all things considered. Joe Flacco, 50 pass attempts, 245 yards. That's not very efficient. 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Toby Gerhart, 15 carries, filling in for Adrian Peterson. Ray Rice makes a guest appearance. Oh boy. And then there you can see Cordero Patterson. I mean, Cordero Patterson, like 3 years ago, randomly had a really good season with the Falcons when he was both a running back and a receiver. Yeah, he kind of had one good fantasy season. This is an interesting game because it didn't start off as snow. The Patriots coming into this one 10-0, 2016, I want to say. The Denver Broncos 8-2. This is when the Broncos won the Super Bowl, even though they had a horrible quarterback situation. Brock Osweiler started this game. If you guys remember, Peyton Manning was on his last legs, and I mean, Peyton had a really bad final year of his career. But, I mean, I still love Peyton. He was an amazing quarterback. And at least he won the Super Bowl going out, mainly because Denver's defense was great. But yeah, the snow accumulation kind of happened throughout. This was kind of early in the season to get snow for an NFL game. And the Broncos won on a walk-off C.J. Anderson 50-yard touchdown. 30-24, the Patriots fall to 10-1. That was a longer game, 3.5 hours, late November. So right after Thanksgiving, that game was happening. Tom Brady, all things considered, really good game. 3 passing touchdowns, no interceptions. Brock Osweiler, mediocre. You can see the Patriots, really no rushing game. C.J. Anderson, 15 carries, 113 yards, 2 touchdowns. Gronk, Emmanuel Sanders having a good game as well. Oh, this game was miserable. Yeah, so this was the end of the season. It was the Chiefs and the Redskins in Landover, Maryland. And this was kind of, if you guys remember, the Redskins with Alfred Morris, RG3, winning Rookie of the Year. You know, it looked like they were going to have a great future. And they're both of their sophomore years, and you could just tell that this team was dead. And this was the game that honestly, like, put the nail in the coffin, I feel like, for that young, you know, Redskins nucleus that they thought they were going to have. I mean, this was a total blowout. And it was weird because the Chiefs only outgained the Redskins by 100 yards, but they had, like, 2 punt return for touchdowns or something. I mean, Jamal Charles was crazy explosive. You can see RG3 just doing nothing. Alfred Morris doing nothing. Dwayne Bowe. Remember that contract that Dwayne Bowe got? This you got to feel bad for the Dolphins in a game like this. You're a warm weather team, and the Dolphins actually won this game. But you can see snow accumulation early on. It stopped really, honestly, into the second half, and then the field just became a mess. But yeah, the Dolphins won this game 34-28. This was the game when Antonio Brown made the catch down the sideline, but then he stepped out of bounds, or else the Steelers were going to win it at the buzzer. They would have won 35-34. I thought this game was, for whatever reason, I thought it was the last week of the season, but it wasn't. It was early December, and that was one of the years where the Steelers just had zero defense, because they had Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, and Big Ben, but they always had horrible defenses. You can see Tannehill, kind of a decent game. Big Ben, 349, 3 touchdowns. And how about Charles Clay right there? Antonio Brown, of course, having a good game. But guys, those are just some fun weather games. And then also this one, this was the weird one. This happened week 6, really early into the season. A 4:25 game, or 4:15 because it was 2009, and that's when the 4 o'clock game started. Tom Brady, the Patriots wearing their throwbacks, the Titans wearing their throwbacks, just horrible numbers from both Vince Young and Kerry Collins. I think Collins was 2 of 12 for -7 yards. But yeah, this was like 59-0 in the third quarter. It's like a college score when Ohio State faces, Bowling Green or something. It was crazy. And the fact that it snowed that early in the year, just very peculiar game. Kind of a random snow event there. But I just wanted to go over some different snow games, guys. That is going to do it for this video. Make sure you're following me on X. Link to that's always in the description.